What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below, the best gaming related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a ton of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. A horror franchise known as Outlast was an absolutely terrifying experience. And you guys who have been around my YouTube channel know that I absolutely love the horror genre, whether we're talking about filmmaking or if we're talking about video games. Outlast is one of those games that is an absolutely terrifying single player experience. And I want to talk about in this segment of the show about Outlast and the future of this series and kind of what happened to it, because we haven't seen a new Outlast in quite some time. So let's talk about it. So guys, Outlast, the first one, so Outlast 1, of course, was released in, it was released a number of different times here on different platforms, right? So it was released on Microsoft Windows in 2013, then PlayStation 4 in 2014, Xbox 2014, and then of course on the Nintendo Switch not too long ago, that being in 2018. Now, Outlast was received generally positive reviews with praise for its atmosphere, horror elements, and gameplay. As of October 2016, the game has sold 4 million copies overall. And so that was, about 4 years ago now that we got an update as far as Outlast 1 is concerned about how many copies it sold. I mean, 4 million copies is pretty good for a brand new IP, right? And this was a game that was absolutely, it was terrifying in its own way, and it was only a single player experience. So that was okay, right? You have this single player experience, and back then, it was probably an okay time to do that, even though at the same time, a lot of games were already starting to move into more multiplayer-based games. Then, of course, you kind of move ahead to Outlast 2, which, of course, was released in April of 2017. So we're talking, about 3 years ago, and a little bit over that. Now, Outlast 2 was another single-player experience, and I thought that Outlast 2 was actually even more terrifying than the first one. Obviously, the first game, and I say this a lot, guys, the first game kind of lays a foundation. The second one can obviously do a lot of the things that the first one did right, but can even elaborate on those things. I look at games like Fear. Fear 1, of course, was really terrifying in its own right. And then, of course, the second game came out, and I thought it was even scarier. The same thing with Dead Space. I thought Dead Space 2 was just kind of did the things that the first one did, but did them even better. And so Outlast 2 absolutely crushed it when it came to, in my opinion, kind of just really upping the ante. The game was met with generally favorable reception upon release, with praise going towards the graphics, sound design, and atmosphere. Criticisms were reserved for the gameplay design and perceived difficulty. So yeah, so those were the couple of things that obviously there was some criticism for with the gameplay design, which I can somewhat agree. But what happened to Outlast, as a franchise? So obviously we haven't seen a game since April of 2017. Obviously they brought the first game to the Nintendo Switch in 2018, but if you look at as far as the sequel's concerned, which has been a lot of talk about this, Outlast 3 was announced in December of 2017, though no time frame or target platforms were confirmed. During this announcement, Red Barrel said that because they could not easily add downloadable content for Outlast 2, due to its structure, they have a smaller separate project related to Outlast that will release before Outlast 3. Then, of course, the Outlast Trials is an upcoming multiplayer horror game that was teased in October of 2019 and is not a direct sequel to Outlast 2. It's about test subjects in a mysterious Cold War experiment and set in the same universe of the previous games. Red Barrel's co-founder, David Shatnoff, said the proof of concept is now complete and the game's team is now in development mode. There is currently no release date for the Outlast Trials. So, look, Outlast, guys, came out, and I think that due to some of the reception on Outlast 2, that being like the gameplay design and the difficulty and things of that nature, a lot of people were kind of saying, well, do they really need to make another one? I think that the perfect direction for Outlast to go at this point was a multiplayer experience, because the first two games were just single-player experiences. And I've always said this, guys, when you don't have other modes other than that of like a single-player mode, it doesn't keep players coming back. You might play the campaign a couple of times through, and then after that you might move on to another game. But with multiplayer experiences within video games, obviously that brings players back, or at least like co-op experiences and stuff bring players back. Multiplayer for the Outlast trials, I think this could be absolutely awesome. This sounds like something that kind of reminds me maybe like a Dead by Daylight. Something along those lines might be quite interesting. We don't really know a lot of information about the Outlast trials, but obviously it looks like Outlast, these main games, are being put on a brief hiatus, and they're all on board with a multiplayer horror game that, of course, we will see at some point in the future. I think the Outlast trials very well could be something pretty special, though, from a multiplayer experience. Now, the question is it going to be a free-to-play experience? Is it going to be one of those experiences where you're going to have to pay for? Most likely, we're going to have to pay for it, but I think that this is the perfect direction for the Outlast franchise to go, because you've made two games up to this point that were single-player experiences, and now you're going to be able to expand to multiplayer, kind of really quench a lot of people's thirst for just wanting more Outlast and being able to like connect with that franchise more and more, and then they can kind of work on Outlast 3, and maybe Outlast 3 will be a full package, that being like a campaign, multiplayer, and maybe some co-op modes. That would be something really interesting. I think this is a perfect direction, because Outlast 2 does have some, a sour taste in some people's mouths. I thought it was really good overall, but the Outlast trials could be something really special. We're going to be talking more about the Outlast trials here on the YouTube channel, but I think what really happened, guys, to Outlast up to this point is that the main story is in a kind of a back burner state, or a limbo state at this point, while they're working on the multiplayer experience, that being the Outlast trials. I do think, though, they will come back to Outlast and the Outlast, franchise, that being like Outlast 3, and continuing the story moving forward. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. I would love to hear from all of you guys. What do you guys think about the Outlast franchise? Are you guys excited about the Outlast trials? Let me know in the comment section below what your guys' thoughts are on a multiplayer experience for Outlast. And for more content and videos based around the Outlast trials and Outlast as a franchise, stay here with Zero TV. Many of you know my personal take on Gears of War and the Gears franchise and what Gears of War means to me, which obviously, guys, for those of you just kind of coming into the channel and checking the channel out, Gears of War was the very first game I ever played on the Xbox 360. It was a game that came with my Xbox 360, and ever since playing it for the very first time, I've been hooked on this franchise, and it's still to this day one of my favorites. It's in the big three to me, that being Call of Duty, StarCraft, and Gears of War being the big three, my favorite franchises ever. That being said, though, Gears of War has got a lot of has gotten a lot of flack, and has really generated a ton of negativity around the Gears of War community as of lately. And a lot of it, I think, some of it might be just, but a lot of it, I think, is just things and negativity created by the community. Well, I wanted to talk about Gears of War and the success of Gears 5 and what this could mean for the franchise, because at this very point, Gears 6 and Gears 7 were confirmed by Rod Ferguson, of course, before he left to go onwards to Blizzard to work on Diablo. So at this point, we're kind of in an interesting time with Gears of War as far as, what the future looks, but I think what Gears 5's success means for the future could be very bright for Gears of War. So let's talk about it. So an article written by Dave Thier of Forbes, in the future we'll have no idea if a game launched well or not. We'll know if it's good or not, that's for sure, but we won't really know if it was remotely financially successful. This is already complex information thanks to games as service mechanics, microtransactions, and the lot. But it's only going to get more obscured with time. Gears 5 is a test case for that. For all intents and purposes, it seems to be a huge success. It's putting up huge numbers with more than 3 million players in its first weekend. It's also got great reviews and a promising future in multiplayer, even if the first weekend had some pretty serious issues. So in other words, a slam dunk. But Microsoft's ecosystem is more complicated than it used to be. So this warrants further examination. him. That 3 million players stat isn't exactly misleading, but it's not the whole story. Gears 5 is included in Microsoft Game Pass on Xbox One and PC, so not only is there a massive install base ready to check this thing out, there's even a massive base of players that have already, on a technical level, purchased the game. Free to play isn't really the word, because you do need to pay money to play this thing, but its inclusion in subscription service makes this a very different title from any game of this scale released ever, pretty much. So don't go using that 3 million player stat to compare this to Sony or Nintendo exclusives, because it's just sort of different. Now, what I am going to say, guys, is the Xbox Game Pass is a game changer. With every sense of the word, guys, it's a real game changer in gaming as a whole. Why? Because this is a subscription service that you can purchase, and basically every game that comes out as an exclusive from Xbox is going directly on it. So you can pay that, monthly service, subscription fee, and you get to play the games essentially for free, even though you're paying for the subscription. So it's got hundreds of games on there, and that library is just going to get bigger and bigger as time goes. And I think Gears of War was kind of the first game that we really saw that real potential with the Xbox Game Pass, because I even tried it myself. I tried doing Xbox Game Pass when Gears 5 first came out, even though I pre-ordered my copy and I got a physical copy of it. I didn't even put that copy in. I tried the Xbox Game Pass and played it on Xbox Game Pass just to see what it was all about. And there you have it. It's going to be the same thing with Halo. Halo's going to be coming out on the Xbox Game Pass, that being Halo Infinite. And I think what this is going to create is Xbox is going to be similar to like Netflix. They've got a lot of different games on there, but they're going to essentially get to a point where it's going to be all Xbox exclusives on the Xbox Game Pass, and that could be something really special. What we can compare it to, however, are other first-party games on Xbox Game Pass like Crackdown 3, Sea of Thieves, and State of Decay 2. And Gears 5 beats those, earning itself the honor of being the biggest launch of any Xbox Game Studios title this generation, and the best-performing first-party Microsoft game since Halo 4, which remains to be a big deal. Now, what does this mean for Microsoft going forward? Hopefully, it means more excellent Gears games and maybe more and better first-party games writ large. This doesn't really give us any information beyond this one game, however, so we can only speculate and hope that Phil Spencer is successfully guiding the division towards better first-party development. So, Gears 5, guys, because of the success of it, I think it's only inevitable that we're getting a Gears 6, possibly a Gears 7. But here's the thing. They're confirmed at this point because of what Rod Ferguson stated, and he of course, stated that Gears 6 and Gears 7 are things that are going to be happening. But if the negativity continues, and I made a video about this on the YouTube channel, that if the negativity continues, they may look and think maybe we shouldn't make another Gears of War game. And Gears of War, as far as Gears 5 is concerned, is in a very strange place, right? Because a lot of teams, as esports teams, are kind of dropping their teams, and there's just a lot of issues going around Gears of War at this very moment, especially on the esports front. Now, as far as the game as a whole, the viewership on Twitch is not very good and has not been for a while now, so that's really unfortunate as well. But I think what this kind of tells you is that there's still a big fan base of Gears of War. It's just maybe the viewership isn't necessarily there for the esports side or for the game itself, like on Twitch. So that's something that we have to kind of keep track of and kind of definitely, do our part as a community to help each other, that being helping your favorite creators, helping your favorite streamers. And if you enjoy Gears of War, you should be streaming the game. You should be, watching videos based around Gears of War if it's your favorite game and helping build the scene up. Don't tear it down by just, constantly bashing the Coalition and such, because they're going to be the ones responsible for making more games in the future. So, beyond that, it means one very particular thing. Gears 5 isn't going away. That means that Xbox Game Pass currently has and will continue to have a top-tier AAA game of unavailable on Sony platforms, which is a big win in a world where Sony has a ton of top-tier games unavailable on Microsoft platforms. That means that when people buy new Xbox Ones, which come with free trials of Game Pass, or when they buy the next-gen Xbox, probably the same thing, they'll be able to play Gears 5 without spending another dime. By the time next-gen rolls around, Halo Infinite will also be available on Game Pass. If Sony doesn't have competition for Game Pass come 2020, that's going to be a big boon for Microsoft. And so I agree with this 100%. I think that Sony absolutely has got to come up with a game plan in order to kind of combat what Game Pass is offering, and I'm sure they will at some point or another. Now, that being said, though, guys, Gears 5 is in a very strange place at this point, and the Gears of War franchise, it's not a assured thing. So, I mean, we've got to be doing our part to kind of support one another. Give criticism where it's due, but look, just kind of lay off the criticism or being so, say good things about the game when there's good things going on. Don't only look at the negativity, because that's just going to draw people away from Gears of War as a title. And with other competition coming out, that being like Outriders and other games coming out later on this year, we need to be supporting one another within the Gears community, because if we don't, many people are going to be moving onwards to other games. So just let's kind of keep pushing forward. Let's make Gears bigger and bigger as we go. And I would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think that these big numbers that Microsoft showed with Gears 5, what do you think that shows us for the future and projects for the future of Gears of War as a franchise? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Gears 6 based content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Tons of rumors and speculation have been all over the internet regarding Grand Theft Auto 6, and we've been kind of talking about a lot of those rumors and leaks and different concepts, suggestions, things of that nature all around this game, guys, because this is just going to be, without a doubt, one of, if not the biggest game of the next console generation. So it's something that we want to talk about, but in this segment of the show, I want to talk about where is Grand Theft Auto 6 going to be based in? Where are we going to be playing? Are we going to be playing in multiple locations? Is it going to be just one location? Are we going back to an old location? Is it going to be somewhere new? Well, we might have a little bit of some further information or just more speculation, which is most likely what all this is. But in an article that was written by Express from Liam Martin, Grand Theft Auto 6 will almost certainly be the biggest game of the next console generation, with GTA 5 still going strong in the monthly sales charts and GTA Online continuing to rake in the cash. Rockstar has been more than happy to take its time before announcing a release date for GTA 6. Needless to say, this has led to countless rumors about where GTA 6 will be set, when it will launch, and what it will look like. With the past two mainline GTA games set in Liberty City and San Andreas, the general consensus is that GTA 6 will go back to the Miami-inspired Vice City, which, by the way, I would be totally cool with. However, despite its popularity with longtime GTA fans, not everybody wants to return to the iconic location. Following the recent appearance of a GTA 6 concept video set in London, the majority of Grand Theft Auto fans want the game to be set in the UK. In a poll with more than 3,200 votes at the time of writing, a whopping 1,454 said that GTA 6 should be set in London. I don't know what the thing is, or the reasoning why people want to be in London. I don't know if they just want to be a completely new location. My thought process on it is, I would probably rather be in Miami or somewhere else. I don't know about London. I mean, look at Watch Dogs Legion is going to be set in London, and so not that that's anything, compared to GTA. Like, GTA is obviously a much bigger franchise than Watch Dogs, but I would rather see them go a different location, in my personal opinion, or go back to Vice City. That's compared to just 720 votes for Vice City, 372 votes for Tokyo, and 336 votes for somewhere else entirely. Perhaps surprisingly, a return to San Andreas managed 261 votes, while Liberty City received 127 votes. The numbers are correct at the time of writing, although we've kept the poll open in case you're not happy with the results and want to have your say. The love for London undoubtedly began with UK Drill Insider create a concept video showing what a next-gen GTA would look like in London. The last time GTA made the trip to London was all the way back in the late 1990s. Available on PC and the original PlayStation, Grand Theft Auto London 1969 retained the top-down view from the original games. Previous numbers have suggested GTA 6 will be set in the 1970s or 1980s and feature a single playable protagonist. And look, as far as going back to 1970s or the 80s, I don't really want. I hope they don't go that route. I think the main reason is because I like where they're, I like the direction they're going, but I kind of like modern or slightly futuristic is kind of what I would personally like. I don't know if I would like them to go back in time much, because that's like a game like Mafia. Mafia is a game that, you go back in time, right? And you can play in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s kind of time frame. And so for me personally, I would rather them kind of stay in modern to near futuristic times. That's just kind of my personal opinion. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that in the comment section below. Likewise, the next Grand Theft Auto game will allegedly take place in Vice City and Rio de Janeiro. It's also been claimed that Grand Theft Auto sequel would launch on PS5 and Xbox Series X. This ties into a previous leak that suggested GTA 6 would have a 2020 release date, although this now looks highly unlikely, which I already said in a previous video, guys. I think it would get announced this year. There's absolutely no way GTA 6 is coming out this year. I would be shocked to my core if it came out this year. It's more likely that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be announced in 2020, followed by a release within the next couple of years. Exactly what I just said, but that's what I think as well, guys. I think we'll probably get a reveal trailer or something of that nature this year, and then we probably won't see it for another year or two, because they're going to want to build that hype around Grand Theft Auto 6 for a while, get people to come back to Grand Theft Auto 5. I think that's certainly what they're probably planning at this point. But with that being said, guys, I would love to hear from you guys. Where do you guys want to be? You want to be in Vice City? Do you want to be in San Andreas? Do you want to be in London? Do you want to be somewhere completely different? Personally, guys, I'd probably like to go back to Vice City. It was kind of fun just playing in Miami, and I think that would be a really sick place to play once again. But I would love to hear from all you guys. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more GTA 6 videos and content, stay right here with Zero TV. We've talked on the channel about Turok, a game and a franchise in which I really enjoyed for a number of years, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it disappeared, and we have not seen a continuation of this franchise since 2008. And so I want to talk about, where is Turok 2, or you could say Turok 6, because that would technically be the next game in line if you kind of count how many games we've had up to this point. Technically speaking, we're on Turok 6, but it would have been Turok 2. So where is this game? What happened to the franchise? Let's talk about it. So guys, if we go to all of the different games that Turok has brought out up to this point, now this isn't necessarily including like games that came out on Game Boy and on, some of the other platforms, but your main entries in the series, you had Turok Dinosaur Hunter, which of course came out when this came out back in 1997 on the Nintendo 64. It was people thought of this as like a kind of almost like Doom. It was like one of those really, those games that kind of people really enjoyed. It was just fighting dinosaurs and had a lot of like really intense, feels and vibes to it. And then you had Turok 2 Seeds of Evil, which was released in 1998, which of course was a year later. You had Seeds of Evil come out. And then of course, you had Rage Wars, which came out in 1999, so it was like every year we were getting a new Turok. Turok 3 Shadow of Oblivion came out in the year 2000, and then Turok Evolution was, a few years after that, coming out in 2003. It technically came out in 2002 on PlayStation, Xbox, and GameCube, but then we waited all these years for another Turok to be released. For whatever reason, it took forever for us to get another Turok, but that being in 2008 is when we got just Turok, and it kind of felt like it was a significant reboot, and that's what it was, a reboot. And it was unrelated to the previous games, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great reboot of the franchise. But then from there, guys, we had canceled, a bunch of canceled Turok games, right? You had an untitled Turok game that was canceled for Game Boy Advance. Then you had an untitled Turok Evolution sequel that was canceled, which I thought would have been really cool. And then, of course, Turok 2 was canceled as well. So Turok 2, known chronologically as Turok 6 in various news articles, was a planned and partially developed sequel to Turok from 2008. It was eventually canceled mid-development due to many layoffs at Propaganda Games. So here's my thought. Why hasn't Turok come back? I mean, like, this was a game that has been successful. If you look at Dinosaur Hunter, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, this was a game, guys, that sold 1.5 million copies and boosted sales of the Nintendo 64. Turok spawned a video game franchise that includes a direct sequel titled Turok 2 Seeds of Evil in 1998 and a prequel, Turok Evolution, in 2002. A remastered version of the game by Night Dive Studios was released through digital distribution for Microsoft Windows on December 17th, 2015, followed by an Xbox One release on March 2nd, 2018, and a Nintendo Switch release on March 18, 2019. So here's my thought. Why isn't Propaganda Games, why wouldn't they give the series or sell the IP to someone? Because this is obviously an IP that should exist in video games. I mean, it reminds me so much of Doom. Like, I feel like it's Doom, but like in the jungle. It's not like in the depths of hell. You're like in jungles, and it's just a very interesting type of game, similar to that of like even like Far Cry. I thought that they have so many different ways in which that they could take Turok and make it into a really great series. Obviously, they've sold a lot of copies, guys, of these games. Seeds of Evil received a very positive reviews from critics and sold 1.4 million copies by January of 1999. Critics praised the game for its detailed graphics, deep levels, and advanced artificial intelligence of enemies. However, the game's inconsistent frame rate and notable distance fog were common subjects of criticism. And then, of course, another remaster of this game by Night Dive was released for Microsoft Windows in 2017 and the Xbox One in 2018. So once again, it's another one of those, like, these games sold well. They sold a lot of copies. And so all I'm saying is that there's something with Turok. There is a game and a franchise that does deserve to coexist with other games. And I think if you're a big Turok fan, we have to be the ones trying to get this game made, get another game made, get Propaganda Games to sell the IP or continue onwards with it moving forward. Because I think with the next-gen consoles, this is a franchise that definitely, absolutely should exist. Turok 6 needs to happen. And I think what really happened here was Propaganda Games just, after, Turok 6 was canceled, or Turok 2 was canceled, from that point onwards, they probably just moved on to other games and other, projects moving forward. So where is this game at this point, guys? It's in a limbo state, and I don't know if there's any telling if it's ever going to come back. If we go on to Turok, which obviously came out, the reboot, in 2008, the reception for mixed or average reviews. Okay, so it had mixed or average reviews. The game was popular enough for Propaganda Games to begin working on a sequel for the Xbox 360 before the Touchstone Games division was shuttered. Turok 2, known chronologically as Turok 6 in news articles, was a planned and partially developed sequel to Turok from 2008. And it was eventually canceled mid-development due to many layoffs at Propaganda Games and their eventual closure in 2011. So why is it that Touchstone Games doesn't sell this IP, or give it a fresh breath of life here? I mean, I just feel that if the publisher, that being Disney Interactive Studios, why is it that they haven't, had someone else working on Turok? I mean, maybe they're just working on other stuff like, other, games, but Turok should be an IP that should be sold, or it, I definitely think that this is a game that should, and franchise that needs to be revived. I mean, come on. This is a really fun game and a really great franchise. It could be something special on the next-gen consoles. but we guys as a community have to be the ones trying to voice Turok into existence. And unfortunately, it looks like it's in a limbo state and just kind of on the back burner for these studios at this very point. It doesn't look like it's something that is going to come out anytime in the near future unless it's being worked on behind closed doors. We need to be the ones voicing that we want another Turok game to come out. But I think that's what ultimately happened to Turok, guys, in the future of it, was Propaganda Games got shut down, and Disney Interactive Studios or Touchdown Studios decided, look, like, we're just going to put this on a hiatus. And it's been on an indefinite hiatus at this point, since we haven't seen anything since 2008. And what I saw of Turok 2, the leaked footage that was shown, looks pretty good. I think it might actually be kind of, something that could have been special had they continued onwards with it. But we'll never know, guys, and hopefully this is a franchise that does come back at some point. But I would love to hear from you guys. Do you guys want to see a Turok 6 or just a continuation of the franchise? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Turok 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.